I have here the crown jewel of lenses, a lens that I've always wished but I wasn't able to buy because the asking price from the manufacturers it is above $1,500 and this costs 3 times less. It's a 35mm lens at f1.4 that has AF and great image quality. It is Aurora 35mm f1.4 lens. So let's talk about this now. Hi there, Todor Matescu here. In this video I want to share with you my experience in using this lens on my Sony a7C camera. This lens is available also for Fujifilm but also for Nikon Z mount, for L mount Alliance. So you'll be able to find this lens for Lumix full frame cameras, for Sigma full frame cameras, for Nikon Z full frame cameras and for any, how I've said, Sony E mount camera. Plus, if you want to use this lens on your Fujifilm camera, you can also get it. But I've opted for the Sony E mount because Sony a7C it's very light and of course a lens like this it will be bigger than the standard f2 f1.8 lens. So I wanted to have a package that is still portable and ultra capable. So this is the crown jewel of lenses because if you don't know, the 35mm focal lens it is the golden focal lens from my point of view, and the f1.4 it is the sweetest spot when you want great isolation of your subject and when you want to make those close-up portraits that are popping like crazy and have that 3D pop and have that subject to background separation. So this is Aurora 35mm f1.4 AF lens. So let's start first with the handling of this lens on my Sony a7C. First of all, Sony a7C it's a small light camera and this lens it's under 500 grams. This lens it's not too long and not too heavy. It's balancing at the limit from my point of view. Of course you can add a small grip to make it more balanced or use other Sony cameras, but overall regarding portability and weight of the entire package, I'm really liking this package. In my camera bag, one camera and one lens, it's very okay for street photography, for everyday photography, for documentary photography, for family photography, for portraiture that will pop like crazy on social media. So really nice, portable, crazy package. And from my point of view, I really love more portraits made with a wide lens that has a bright aperture than portraits made with a tele lens like 85mm f1.4 for example. Anyway, each lens has its own sense in the lineup, but this kind of lens from my point of view it is the Everest. It is the promised land. When you have a full frame camera you really want to have a 35mm f1.4 lens, but in general the majority of passionate photographers aren't able to buy those lenses because in general those lenses are big and expensive and you can't justify easy to buy such a lens when it costs so much. So you go for the standard lens, but this lens it's costing almost as a standard lens and has an f1.4 aperture. It costs as a Sigma lens plus minus some dollars. So anyway, have that in mind. So regarding handling on Sony a7C, I'm saying that it's okay. Of course I would have wanted the lens to be a little bit smaller, but I do feel that they didn't sacrifice nothing when it comes to image quality, and I will address how is the image quality at the right chapter. But before, let me address a little the build quality. So first of all, the lens is metal built and also it is raindrop resistance and dust resistance and so on. But yes, you don't have a rubber gasket here, but you have an USB-C for future firmware updates. So I will not shoot this lens in heavy rain, but overall, let's be serious. What you have on the lens and what you get, it is really mind-blowing. So let's see what you get on this lens. First, you have a nice focusing ring that you can access it very easy. It is very grippy. I'm really liking the texture a lot. Second, you have all the buttons that you can imagine a lens can have. You have an AF and manual focus switch. You have an FN button that you can customize on your full frame camera. You have iris lock that I will get immediately on how it's operating. And also you have an aperture ring that can be clicked or declicked depending on your use case. The aperture clicks are really nice. and you can declick it also. Anyway, you have an iris lock, and I was thinking, what does this button do? This iris lock button is blocking the aperture to go in A mode, depending on your use case, or also it can block the aperture in A mode, so you can't bump the ring at all, and you can control the aperture by using the dials from your camera. So you have lots of controls on this lens for photography, but also for videography, and in any use case you can set up this lens however you want. More than that, you have a very nice lens hood, pretty sick, that also has a locking button. So you have here a locking button of the lens hood, and all it's staying great in hand and it's doing a great job. You can reverse this lens hood, but overall I was able to find out that this lens is ultra resistant at flare. So great news here, very resistant at flare. You really don't need this lens hood if you don't want to use a lens hood if you're a hobbyist photographer. So till now I would say that you have pro features on this very good priced lens. Now let me address the AF speed and AF accuracy of this lens. This lens is focusing fast for an f1.4 lens, third party lens, but not as fast as 35mm f1.8 Sony lens. I would say as a Sigma lens, something like this, but have in mind that I'm syncing at my Sigma f2 f2.8 lenses that aren't as fast as the Sony lenses. This is faster and it has an f1.4 aperture, but yes, it's not as fast as Sony, I would say 35mm f1.8. In real world use, I didn't find this a problem. So for street photography, for portraiture photography that I've made, the AF worked great and I didn't have any missed shots. Just one time I had a missed shot because my kid closed the eye and the lens focused in another direction, but I don't think this is a problem. But yes, have in mind that if you do an indoor test from close point to far distance, the AF, it will not be as snappy as 35mm f1.8 Sony lens. But overall, in real world use, I didn't find any problems to use this lens, and it was a real pleasure. It was a real pleasure to use this lens, and the AF didn't bother me at all. And how I've said, it is faster than my Sigma lenses. Now let's get to the image quality, because we are able to see that we have a good AF, we have excellent build quality, excellent size, and excellent price. But what about the image quality? Did they make some compromises or not? From my point of view, the image quality, it is mind-blowing image quality. It is stellar image quality. I do feel that I get great images. At f1.4, it is sharp as crazy with lots of details. So this lens is resolving fine details and fine texture at f1.4 like crazy. It's feeling like a zoomy looks with AF. The bokeh is ultra melted, but it can be busy sometimes if you have foliage behind your subject. But depending on how you choose the background, you'll melt it very well. And I was able to see also this is the case with Sony Zeiss 35mm f1.4 and with other 35mm f1.4 lenses. So this is normal. Now, purple fringing and chromatic aberrations, yes, you have some from there to there, but they are better controlled, I would say, than other lenses that I've tested. So regarding chromatic aberrations, I would say that it's better controlled than the Aurora 35mm f1.4. So you have great coatings here for flare resistance and for chromatic aberrations and stuff like this. Yes, you can have some purple fringing and chromatic aberrations from there to there, but again, very well controlled, even better than other pro third-party lenses, and I think that even better than the Sony 35mm f1.8 and also than the Sony 85mm f1.8. So very well controlled these problems. So overall, regarding image quality, I would say that we must concentrate more on the way that this lens is rendering. For me, it's like a Zoomilux or Voigtlander 35mm f1.5 with AF with better image quality, because the image quality, it is modern and very well controlled. The subject is popping like crazy. It's popping in any condition that you'll shoot it. Full body, headshots, and so on. Regarding the bokeh, it is very smooth, how I've said, but also you have cat eye shape bokeh at f1.4. Again, I'm not finding this a problem. because the subject, how I've said, it's exiting from the image when you are looking at it. So the image quality is really mind-blowing. As a hobbyist and as an everyday photographer, I would not go to lenses like this because of the size and weight. But looking at that image quality, and having a small Sony camera, this becomes a must-have lens in my kit from my point of view. Again, how I've said, the package, it's very portable, it's very okay, and the rendered images are blowing away any Leica Q3 or other equivalent lenses in this field of view. If we'll pixel peep, probably some premium lenses from Sony or Canon or other manufacturers will be better. But this is, I don't know, ultra close. I don't have nothing to complain. The image quality, it is mind blowing, and you are able to see the differences between an f1.8 Sony standard lens and this lens. It is another story. It is a totally another story, because you have certain aperture blades. These are melting the background, and more than that, how I've said, the lens is ultra sharp at f1.4, and it's focusing pretty fast. By the way, if you want to make better photos, you must know that it's not about the gear, it's about composition, it's about light, it's about seeing with your eyes and pre-visualizing the picture. So for this, I've recently launched a course with my techniques to get better pictures. So if you want to learn to make better pictures, and especially composition, why not join my Photography Academy? To get access to my course, you must be subscribed to my channel and join my membership Photography Academy level. When you'll have that level, you'll have access to my street photography composition course, where I show you how I am making the pictures and where I teach you how to make the same picture. So I'm telling you why a picture is good and why it's working, and why I've decided to keep it in color or to keep it in black. So you learn lots of tips and techniques if you are joining the membership program. And more than that, joining my membership, it means that any premium course that I will launch, you'll have access to it. So join now my TM Photography Academy by subscribing to my channel and hit the join button from YouTube. Now, for who is this lens? From my point of view, if you are a hobbyist photographer and always wanted a 35mm f1.4 lens, and you have a Sony light camera or Lumix camera or Nikon Z camera, this is the camera to go. On Nikon Z cameras like Z8 or Z6 II or Z6 III that have a very nice grip, this will balance very well. Also, this lens will balance very well on Sony a7 IV, on Sony a7 R5, and so on. But also, I'm really loving the lens on Sony a7C if I am prioritizing weight and size of the entire package in my camera bag. So for weight and size in my camera bag, this is a go-to lens when I want that f1.4 and when I want that subject to background separation. Now, if you are a videographer, you have all the controls in the world to make this lens work for you. Also, this is great if you are a wedding and event photographer or a portraiture photographer. And why is that? Because I don't see any sense on paying 3 times more on a Sony branded lens when you can get this. I'm really not able to see any problems with this lens at this moment. The chromatic aberrations, how I've said, are very well controlled, even better, how I've said, than Sony 35mm f1.8 and other lenses that I've used. The focusing, it's okay. The image quality, it's 10 out of 10. I would say that it's possible to have some vignetting with this lens at f1.4, but I'm sorry, I was looking just at the portraits and in the center of the image and how the background was melted. This was my objective, and if you are buying such a lens, you really must buy it for portraiture and for contextual shots and for documentary photography and for mind-blowing, I would say, portraiture. Because this is one of the best advantages of a lens like this. You can make interior portraits, outdoor portraits in landscape format or in vertical mode that will be very unique. These kind of lenses weren't accessible for everybody, how I've said, because of the price, size, handling. Now this is ultra accessible. So have in mind that you pay, how I've said, 3 times less than the other alternatives that are out there, and you don't have many alternatives. The only cheap alternatives are the manual focus lenses that also have a weight to them, and they are manual focus. This is AF. Yes, it's a package that you'll shoot with two hands, but it's a package that it will really reward you. So the reward that you'll get from this package, lens and body, it is 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. When I've looked at the images at my computer on the big screen and also on my MacBook, I was blown away regarding the image quality. I was also blown away regarding the image quality on the phone. But on the big screen, wow, really wow. So yes, if you want a Leica Q2, Q3 killer, Leica Q3 43 killer, yes, it's not the same size, but the image quality, it's stellar, and the results, I'm in totally love with them for everyday photography, for portraiture photography, for street photography. First idea that comes into mind is that I would say that this compromise regarding size and weight, it's a no-brainer. But the image quality and the end results are so good that I can't call this a compromise. Yes, you don't do any compromise with this lens. The price, it's no compromise. The size and weight aren't any compromises, so it's a no compromise lens. It can't get better than this from my point of view. It can't get better than this. So this is my take on Sirui Aurora 35mm f1.4 lens, a stellar lens. Get it now. Use my affiliate links from the comments and description. Leave me your comments, and don't forget that you have 3 years guarantee on this lens. 3 years guarantee that this lens will not break on you, and if it will break, they will change it for free. So what more could you want? So I'm totally recommending this lens. Go get it now using my affiliate links. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel, give it a like to this video, and what is free and is helping this channel to grow, it is to watch my next videos. Thank you, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.